How foolish we were. We expected the Soviet Union to collapse like a house of cards, pushed in by an uncaring child. We expected the Soviet soldiers to desert en masse, like they did at the end of the First Great War. But the Soviet soldier is a brave one, you have to acknowledge that. They tenaciously defend their land. And what their commanders lack in knowledge and tactical acumen, they make up in ruthlessness and brutality. In the past few months, we have advanced deep into the Soviet Union, inflicting defeat after horrible defeat on the enemy. And yet, they still resist. Some say any day now, any day, and they will have to collapse, they will have to surrender. But every day we wake up, and the war still didn't end. However, now we have an opportunity, maybe the opportunity to end it once and for all. The enemy stubbornly tried to defend Kiev, dedicating whole armies to that effort. Those armies of their southwestern front are now encircled by our forces. The Soviets reacted far too late to this encirclement, but now it seems as if they have received orders to break out. Over 500,000 desperate and frenzied enemies are pushing towards us from the west. At the same time, fresh forces from the east are trying to open up an escape corridor for them. It is our task to prevent that. Hello there, and welcome to something that we haven't seen on this channel in a very long time, but something that many of my long-term subscribers have been asking for on a regular basis. Welcome to a new campaign in Graviteam Tactics Mius Front. For those of you who have never heard of that name and who are unfamiliar with this extremely unique game, this is essentially a battlefield simulator. In the past I have made a video exploring in depth what this game is, what you can expect from it when you buy it, and if it is any good. Spoiler alert, it's amazing. It's one of the most amazing games I know. You will find a link to the video appearing on screen right now if I don't forget to set that up, and you'll also find a link in the video description. So go and have a look at that after you finish this video, of course. Also in the video description you will find a link to my very own Graviteam Tactics Mius Front playlist, where I have uploaded a few campaigns that I had played in the past. So if you want to watch hours and hours of awesome battles, go and have a look at that. Well, despite this game being so amazing, I haven't actually played it in a very long time. I basically stopped playing it shortly after the whole mess in Ukraine started. The reason for that is that many of the battlefields that are so realistically recreated in this game, many are located in Ukraine, as you can see by the dot on these little maps here. Many are in fact located around Kharkov. Areas that have once again become battlefields in real life. And I just don't feel like replaying battles set on very realistically recreated battlefields when people are dying on those fields every day. However, the developer has made some exciting changes to the game that I'm just itching to explore. And also, they have released a new expansion just a few weeks ago that is set around Romny, a town in Ukraine, however far away from the current front lines, not too far away from Kiev. This battle that we will be playing is set during the Kiev defensive operation in September 1941. Before we go into this operation and I show you in detail what this is about, let me give you some historical context on the battle. By the way, the developer has released companion books to many of the operations that are available in the game. An idea that is amazing in my opinion. So we'll take a look at that in just a moment. But historical context first. Let's have a look. I want you to understand the significance of the battle that we will be fighting in the upcoming weeks. Here you see the front lines as they were at the end of August 1941. In the past few months, the Wehrmacht has advanced deep into the Soviet Union, inflicting defeat after horrible defeat on the ill-prepared Red Army. Pay attention to the situation in Ukraine. Just so that you can orient yourself, here we have Kiev right on the front lines, here is Kharkiv, and up here is Sumy. You can see that the front line is mostly located on the Dnieper River and the Desna River, forming a huge bulge with Kiev as its westernmost point. What happened to get from this situation at the end of August to, let me show you, this situation at the end of September? Nothing short of the largest encirclement in the history of warfare, if you go by number of troops, and in essence the complete encirclement and destruction of the southwestern front of the Soviet Union. That's what happened. By the way, this website here is called pamyatnaroda.ru. It is nice to have a look at some historical maps, to have a look at the state of the front lines at specific points in time, but be aware that this website is most likely affiliated with the Russian government, and their take on World War II history can be called interesting a lot of times. There is a lot of false information out there. So be careful when you do use it. Do fact checks. Now, the companion booklet that the developers have introduced with this latest expansion tells us a bit more about what happened during the Kiev defensive operation. Let's take a look at that. In my opinion, the developers had a very neat idea here to create little companion booklets and release those together with their new expansions. Although this companion booklet is only 5 pages long, it gives us plenty of information about the historical context of this battle, about why it happened, which units were involved, what the general situation on the front lines was, what the situation in the operational area was at the time. And it even includes some information about the battlefield itself. The battlefield features a very prominent hill, the so-called Romny Salt Dome. Ukraine's first oil field was discovered there, and in these historic photographs you can actually see oil rigs in the background. And yeah, historical photographs are always a nice thing to look at. This picture, by the way, fills me with a little bit of dread. That's a Soviet KV tank, a heavy tank. And at that point in time the Wehrmacht didn't have too much to stop these beasts. Well, I guess we will be seeing some of them. But for now, let's talk about the general situation on the front lines. What happened for us to get to this battle? Well, at the end of August, the 2nd Tank Group established bridgeheads across the Desna River to the north, and the 1st Tank Group established a big bridgehead across the Dnieper River at Kremenchuk in the south. The Germans saw an opportunity to encircle units of the Soviet Southwestern front. The Soviets tried to prevent it. The 40th Army was sent to attack westwards towards the 2nd German Tank Army and to stop their advance to the south. But because that counterattack was ill-prepared and not very well planned, it failed, and the 2nd Tank Army was able to continue its advance south. Until on the 15th of September, the units from the Southern Group and the Northern Group linked up, and the encirclement was completed. At that point, the 37th, the 5th, the 21st, and the 26th Soviet armies were encircled. Over 500,000 men. Can you imagine that? A huge catastrophe was in the making, and the Soviet High Command was too slow to react to it. Stalin wanted Kiev defended at all costs, and so the order for these armies to break out of that encirclement and to retreat eastwards was only given on the night of the 17th to the 18th. Way too late. And of course the Germans had other plans with these units. The Soviets sent the 38th Army to attack westwards towards Romny to aid in the breakout of the encirclement. That's the situation that we find ourselves in right now. Let's go further down here and take a look at the situation in our area of operations. Actually, Pustovitovka is a town, a little village on the northern end of our in-game map. Gerasimovka is on the western edge of the map, so our map is more or less like this here. The Soviets formed the, what was it called? Cavalry Mechanized Group Belov. That group was tasked to advance westwards towards Romny and capture bridges along the Sula River to aid the retreating Soviet armies in crossing that river and escaping from the Germans. That was the plan. However, the Group Belov consisted of the 2nd Cavalry Corps and also the 129th Tank Brigade. That tank brigade was made up of different units. They were not well coordinated together, but it had a significant number of tanks. 3 tank and 1 motorized rifle battalions. It included KV tanks, T-34 tanks, BT tanks and T-26 tanks. So there is, I fear that we will be seeing a lot of Soviet tanks in this operation. I really do. We'll see how that goes. So they had the task to advance towards the river and capture bridges. The Germans, well, they were a little bit worried about that, but they also had their own plans to prevent the breakout from the encirclement. The 10th Motorized Infantry Division was moved into the area, of which the 41st Motorized Infantry Regiment is a part. We will be playing with units from the 41st Motorized Infantry Regiment. They occupied bridgeheads east of Romny, which we will be defending. And at the same time, a motorized infantry division from the SS Das Reich advanced into the area. They were basically forced marched there to aid in the defense. Good, okay. So that's the general situation. So, with that said, let's actually go back into the game and take a look at our battlefield and the operation itself. The battle near Romny that we will be playing happened on the 20th and 21st of September 1941. Our operation here will last 10 turns, with 3 hours passing each turn. The area of operation is 48 square kilometers big. The units that we will be using are the 41st Motorized Infantry Regiment and the SS Division Das Reich. We will be facing units of the Cavalry Mechanized Group Belov, including the 129th Tank Brigade and the 2nd Cavalry Corps. Our objectives are to preserve our own force strength above 50% and to take control of at least 70% of the key points. Secondary objectives are to reduce the enemy force strength below 50%, to capture key points, and to preserve our own reserves. Let's go in. These will be the settings. I will not be controlling allied forces if we have some. We are leaving that as it is. Let's start the operation. And here we have it. Oh, didn't want to do that. Let's keep our battlefield here. Right, this is the battlefield. And up here on the right side is the briefing for the operation. I'm not going to read all of that to you. That would take way too much time. But I will slowly scroll down, so if you want to read it all, you can pause the video and do so at your own time. So ready? I'm scrolling down to the briefing for the first turn, which is also quite long. Not sure that I will read all of that to you, because it also includes a lot of orders for units that are not in our direct control, that are not even on in the same area here. So we'll sift through that later together. Yeah. Alright, but let's first take a look at the battlefield itself. We see up here in the north is the river Sula with Pustovitivka up here. I told you about that on the map in the companion booklet. Here on the left side we have Gerasimovka. Here looks like we have a large hill here. These little triangles that we see here, those are oil rigs. So this is the prominent hill that we will be seeing quite a lot of in the battle, I can imagine. The area is dotted with a few farmsteads and, well, a few small villages here and there, but mostly just farmsteads. Apart from the river and the hill, the map doesn't seem to have any very obvious features, geological features. There is another hill here. We see that the area in the south is much higher than the area in the north here. The area in the north is lower, the one that leads down to the river. Not too surprising actually, when you consider that. So yeah, that's the battlefield. A few little lakes and ponds here and there, a little bit of swampy area down here and here. But apart from that, mostly fields and a few tree lines and forests with a few farmsteads. Let's compare this, as we see it here, to real life really quick. Here you see the battlefield area as it looks today in real life from above. It is essentially this area that I marked here, and you can tell by looking at some prominent features here. Let me actually remove this. So here on the left side we have Gerasimovka, or as it is called in Ukrainian, Herasimivka. Up here to the north we have Pustovitivka, limiting the battlefield to the north. Here is the river Sula, and the hill with the oil field on it would be hereabouts. Yeah, you can actually tell there is a patch of green on the in-game map, a little bit of forest, which is actually here. It looks like that area collects water from time to time, possibly when it rains a lot, and so there's a lot of vegetation there. That's a prominent mark here. Sadly, it looks like the village of Zamudi that is on the in-game map doesn't exist anymore in real life. At least I can't see any buildings here really, apart from a little structure here and there. So that village seems to have disappeared with time. Same with the one that's on the other side, Pavlo, what was it called? Palovchiv or something like that. You can tell that the ground is disturbed. There was something here, but it's gone. Yeah, so let me play a little bit with some overlay magic, and I'll try to overlay this with the in-game map, and you can tell how much detail the devs are really implementing into this. They are nailing it every single time with these maps. They really pay a lot of attention to detail, you can tell. It's amazing. Let's have a quick look at this prominent hill. Looks like we might be able to take a look at a few pictures. Yeah, picture looking down from the hill possibly. That's a nice place, isn't it? Looks very nice. Let's take a look at... Yeah, we have a few more pictures. Oh, this is nice. Look at that. So apparently there are no more oil rigs on that hill, but it is definitely a prominent feature in the countryside. Yeah, look at it. This is possibly viewed from the road that's leading through the area. Seems like there was a fire nearby. Ah, well. Nice place. Very nice and pretty place. Yeah. Okay, so we had a look at that. The map doesn't feature that many prominent features. There's the village over here, which is a farmstead in the game, Farmstead Skripali. there are still houses and buildings visible, farm buildings, so that's still there. But apart from that and the towns on the edge of the battlefield, and the hill and this little, well, lower area here, where the water is pooling, apart from that we don't have too many terrain features to worry about, or to take a look at. So, let's go back into the game and have a quick look at our forces and at our situation at the start of the operation. Back in the game, where we are now having a look at the briefing and the historical situation as it was at 10 o'clock on that day. The weather is clear, so that's good, no rain or anything like that. And let's have a quick look at the units that are involved here. We can see that the units of the 41st Motorized Infantry Regiment were in this area up here, and looks like they were advancing eastwards. At the same time, it looks like Soviet forces are advancing westwards. To me, this map here looks like we'll be having a meeting engagement with the enemy. Basically, no single side has really prepared defensive positions. Two forces are advancing into each other. This has the potential to get very ugly and very messy. But we'll see. Here we have an anti-tank battalion of the SS, okay. Some defensive positions maybe. In Aksutinsi. I butchered that name completely. And from this direction we have units of the Motorized Infantry Division SS Das Reich and the Infantry Regiment SS Der Führer advancing towards the east. Alright, here the oil fields. From the east, Group Belov is advancing with the 129th Tank Brigade, the 9th Cavalry Division and the 5th Cavalry Division. The 11th Cavalry Regiment has taken up positions here, the 5th Cavalry Regiment here, and the 129th Tank Regiment is advancing into the area. From the northeast we have the 108th Cavalry Regiment advancing and the 72nd Cavalry Regiment advancing towards Pustovitivka. That's great. That's 2 cavalry divisions and 1 tank regiment against us. That's a lot. A lot of enemies. This has the potential to be really ugly. Let's see. Here we have the historical orders for turn 1, for 10 o'clock on that day. Now I'm not gonna read through all this because a lot of this doesn't concern units that are under our direct command. So I'm gonna skip those parts. 41st Motorized Infantry Regiment attacks in an easterly direction and occupies the dominant hill on the eastern bank of the Sula River. So these units are advancing onto this hill with the task to occupy it. Good, we'll do that. Motorized Infantry Regiment SS Der Führer crosses the Sula River on the bridge in Romny, acts beyond 41st Motorized Infantry Regiment after it occupies the dominant hill on the eastern bank of the Sula River. Turn to the northeast and attack the enemy on the southern bank of the Sula River, in the direction of Pustovitovka. Okay, so Der Führer, these guys are supposed to advance northeast. Good. This part about Deutschland, that's not our concern. 11th Infantry SS also not our concern. Artillery Regiment SS Das Reich is subordinate to the 41st Motorized Infantry Regiment and later, apparently with the start of the offensive, to Motorized Infantry Regiment Der Führer. The Artillery Regiment batteries must be positioned so that they can repel attacks on the right, southern part of the bridgehead. Then 2nd and 3rd Battalions of the Artillery Regiment move to the eastern bank of the Sula River so that they can move together with the Motorized Infantry Regiment Deutschland. So I guess we will have an artillery regiment at our disposal, which is very nice. The anti-tank battalion of the SS Das Reich must be placed behind the positions of the 41st Motorized Infantry Regiment and used for maneuverable defense. So these guys, we'll have access to them as well. Nice. Heavy guns 88mm from the anti-aircraft battalion SS Das Reich are transferred to the right side of the bridgehead and support the attack of the Motorized Infantry Regiment Der Führer. Light anti-aircraft guns are used to defend the bridges in the Romny. So possibly we will have access to heavy 88mm anti-aircraft guns, which, if we think back to that picture with the KV tank, we'll sorely need. Engineering battalion, oops, engineering battalion, that's not our concern. Self-propelled gun company. 1 platoon assigned to the 41st Motorized Infantry Regiment, 1 platoon to the Motorized Infantry Regiment der Führer. So we might be having access to some self-propelled guns, which is very nice. And this 2nd Battalion of the 11th Anti-Aircraft Regiment partly supported the attack of the 41st Motorized Infantry Regiment and partly used to protect against air raids. Okay, so maybe we have access to some of those units as well. In front of the division's offensive sector, there's an enemy with a strength of 2 cavalry divisions and a large tank formation. This is gonna be brutal, I'm telling you. This is gonna be really brutal. Good, okay, so if I read this correctly, advance, secure the hill with the 41st Motorized Infantry Regiment units. Then use the SS units to attack further northeast. All the while hoping that the enemy tanks advancing from the southeast don't completely smash us. Well, I guess we will be using those heavy anti-aircraft guns and maybe the self-propelled guns, if they're any good, to stop that attack. And here we see where the key points for this battle are. So the key points, they are basically points that you really should control if you want to achieve your operational objectives. And the size of the dot here tells you how important that point is and basically how much value it has, how many victory points you will accumulate from holding it. There are some here as well down here, okay. So I should ideally get the hill, get this low ground all the way on a line from the hill to Grebeni down here, secure that. And if possible, I should go for at least one of these two. But that will come later in the operation, when we have ground down the enemy, hopefully. And immediately you can see one exciting new change that the developers have made. Do you see how the front line is drawn? It used to be in this game that whoever controlled most of a 1 square kilometer area owned this 1 square kilometer square. So the front was really more something like this, right? Along the edges of these squares. They made a change and they have broken it down to nodes, so you can actually partially own a sector. Which is very cool. That should lead to some very dynamic situations. But okay. My units, some have dug foxholes, but we will be getting them out of those foxholes. Because we have to use these units to advance towards the hill. Right. Give me a moment. I need to familiarize myself with my own units and maybe make some adjustments. And then we'll resume the video. Alright, I had a look at my units to see what is available to us and I have given them some orders. Let me show you what we can actually use in this battle. So the battle groups that are available to us. We have battle groups from the Artillery Regiment Das Reich. We have 1, 2, 3 battle groups, basically representing the 1st, 2nd and 3rd company or battery of this artillery regiment. You can see that each of those has access to 2 artillery platoons with 2 10.5 cm light field howitzers each. So that's quite a nice number of guns that we have here. However, only one of these battle groups is already on the field available to us, the rest hasn't arrived yet. I have assigned an artillery observer to this battle group. And usually that allows you to call in off-map artillery. However, over here it says number of guns 0 and in brackets 4. I'm not 100% sure what that means, but I guess I won't be having off-map artillery support called in by this guy. Is that because the guns that I have here are basically his guns that he's responsible for, and since they are on the field with him, I don't have them on call as off-map artillery? Is that it? I think I'm onto something, but I'm not 100% sure, so let me know in the comments. Right, let's go further down the list. The Motorized Infantry Regiment SS der Führer is represented with the 1st Battalion, consisting of 3 infantry companies, their respective battle groups here. Each battle group has 2 infantry platoons and a machine gun platoon, excuse me. So that's quite a large number of men. You can see here 1,299 men in this unit available to me. This game is big. This game is really big. So, 1st Battalion, 2nd Battalion and 3rd Battalion. They are all still on the way. We are waiting for those. Then units from the Motorized Infantry Division SS Das Reich. We have some units from the Anti-Tank Battalion. We have the 3 companies of anti-tank guns, yeah. 1st Anti-Tank Gun Company has 2 platoons of anti-tank guns, 1 armed with 3 5cm anti-tank guns, and the 2nd platoon is armed with 4 3.7cm anti-tank guns. Or as I like to call these anti-tank guns, next to useless and completely useless. The 3.7cm gun is a joke against Soviet tanks. It really can only penetrate the lightest of Soviet tanks. It's really a terrible gun, and it was completely outdated at this point in the war. The 5cm gun, well, if the enemy tank is nice enough to drive right in front of the barrel without shooting the gun, then it might be able to penetrate. Might. It's not a good gun either. German anti-tank guns at this point in the war, not good. Really not good. There's a reason why they were quote-unquote forced to use the 8.8cm anti-aircraft gun in an anti-tank role. It's because their regular anti-tank guns were shit. But we have 3 companies of those. I'm really not sure how much use we will be getting out of those. Then we come to the units of the 41st Motorized Infantry Regiment. Here, just as with the other infantry regiment that we have seen earlier, we have 3 battalions with 3 infantry companies each. Each company has 2 platoons of infantry. These guys are basically regular infantry soldiers, 4 platoons of those, 4 squads of those, excuse me, with a company mortar 5cm attached to it. So, it's a balanced force. They also have some support weapons in the form of machine gun squads with MG-34s. The 1st Battalion hasn't arrived yet. They are arriving in 3 hours. The 2nd Battalion, however, is there. And I have assigned a mortar observer to the 5th Company. Observer for 6 8cm mortars. I hope that he will be very useful. That's off my artillery. He's assigned to these guys. Apart from that, it's just basically the standard battalion with 3 infantry companies. The 3rd Battalion is a little bit more interesting because the battalion command has 8.8cm anti-aircraft guns attached to it. Two guns. I really do hope that we won't be seeing many Soviet tanks, especially not many heavy ones. Things might get really difficult. Apart from that, just the usual mix of forces. And what's interesting is here the 10th Company has a self-propelled gun platoon attached. So 2 Stück 3 assault guns, Sturmgeschütze. However, version B, if I'm not mistaken, then version B is the short-barreled gun. That means that these assault guns are next to useless against enemy tanks. I think you are starting to see a trend here, don't you? Next to useless against enemy tanks. I think I will be busy keeping these guys alive, not using them in any offensive way, really. We'll see. We'll see what I can achieve. You know what I will do? What I will do for these guys? I will assign a mortar spotter to the 3rd Battalion, to one of these companies. Let me have a quick look. The 10th Company will be in the middle of the formation. So let me assign a forward observer for mortars to them. You do that by right-clicking here, and then you can select a unit from the reserves basically. The unit that is highlighted in blue is a unit that naturally belongs to this formation. So if you select that, you won't have, or you will have less issues with command and control. So yeah, I'm taking the 3rd Battalion Mortar Battery observer here. Now he's part of the unit and he will be able to call on 6 8cm mortars. Which is nice. Mortars are good. Before we go to the individual orders for the units, let me show you something. The forces list, so these are all units that I will have access to during the course of this operation. And I want you to have a quick look at the artillery regiment here. Note that each of these lines represents 2 10.5cm light field howitzers. These are not small guns. 10.5cm is nothing to sneeze at. Please have a look at this as I scroll down the list. What the hell is this? Why do I have access to a full artillery regiment? That's a crap load of guns, and it makes me extremely nervous because of the implication. The implication being that I'll be needing those guns. What am I running into here? I have a bad feeling about this. If we scroll further down the list, you see there are plenty of lines here without any information. I don't think I'll be having access to these units. They are just here for, well, for reference basically. But we do have access to the infantry battalions of the infantry regiment der Führer. To those we have access, but they are still all on the way. Then of course the units from the Motorized Infantry Division SS Das Reich, where we have more self-propelled guns on the way, which is great. And more anti-aircraft guns also, which is also very great. I'm really happy about that, I can tell you. We have an engineer company. These guys usually have a shit ton of explosives. They also have an anti-tank rifle team and a flamethrower crew. Not sure how much use these guys will be. I mean, we are fighting mostly in open ground and these units are really good at close range. Or, yeah, against close range anti-tank fighting maybe, but apart from that, nah, not that great. Anti-tank battalion, yeah, just 5cm and 3.7cm guns, so not very promising. And then, of course, the 41st Motorized Infantry Regiment units, and most of them are still on the way. However, we do have access, we do have in the reserves a whole bunch of infantry guns, 7.5cm light infantry guns. They can be very useful. We also have a few forward observers for really heavy artillery, 150mm. Right, and apart from that, just infantry companies and support companies with machine guns and mortars. That's it. That's our forces list. Arrayed against us, probably a shitload of tanks. Now, I've given orders. 7th company here, they are moving up to this line. I think I will want to establish a defensive line running here, here, and then from here running south. And I'll establish that defense line, let the enemy come towards me, fight off their first attack, and then maybe start to push as the SS units come on the field. When I get a little bit more forces. You will see that these units are colored light blue. These units I can control directly right now. The dark units here, they haven't arrived on the field yet. So I will be able to control them when they do, in 2 turns for example, with this unit here. The semicircle around these units tells me that these units are entrenched, so they basically have dug foxholes. If you move the unit, that trait is abandoned, the position is abandoned, they would have to then dig new holes, which they do automatically, after a few turns. Since I'm moving this unit, for example, up to here, it will no longer have the defensive trait, the foxholes available to it. It's a bit risky, I know. I'm moving them out here in the open. Maybe I shouldn't do that. I'm moving this unit forward, but they are moving into some cover, into vegetation. This unit are moving completely out in the open. Let me not do that, please. This artillery, I'm changing my orders here a little bit. Yeah, that's gonna be it. This unit is staying here until we get more units online so that we can push. This unit down here is advancing though. With that said, let's see what the enemy does. Let's hit next turn and see what happens. Panic happens, oh that's not good. We're losing morale because of something. And the historical situation has changed by now. It is 1300, 13 o'clock. The enemy attacked the bridgehead at Romny with cavalry and tanks. So this is the historical situation as it was at that time. The Soviets attacked over the hill. What happened here to deplete my morale, I wonder. Units were fatigued, okay. Panic, why? Do I have low morale on my units? I'm not sure. Or maybe air attack. Something happened, maybe I missed it. Okay, anyway, we have received more units. The 1st battalion has come online here. I will move the 3rd company into the line. Battalion command behind them. There are enemy units up here. I doubt that we'll be seeing enemy tanks over here, right? I mean, there's a cavalry regiment advance. Difficult to say. I think the main tank attack will come through here, up to the hill or south of the hill. There's a lot of open ground here that they can use. What can I do? What can I do? It's a difficult question. I can move these anti-tank guns forward. I can do that. Should I use my unit here to attack towards the enemies? Disrupt them before they themselves can launch an attack on us. That might be a good idea, actually. Or not. I'll leave it where it is. I'll wait until I have more units on the line. But this is developing in a way that I don't like to see. There's a lot of enemies closing in on me. What do I do now? I'm keeping everything as is. Pretty much, yeah. I could move the guns of the artillery regiment further forward though. I would weaken my center with that. Let's do it. I'll move them forwards. Their command behind them. Okay. Let's hit next turn, see what happens. I expect an attack now. And here it comes. The first battle. These are the units that will be involved in that battle. I have plenty of units, but so does the enemy. They're attacking over the hill here. There will be a second attack this turn down in the south. So moving the guns of the artillery regiment there maybe saved my bacon here. Not quite sure. Let's go ahead and fight this battle. Off to the battlefield we go. And here, for the first time, we see the battlefield. Well, well, well. This is looking interesting. Let me disable this. So, this here is the hill with the oil rigs on top. That's nice. That's very nice. We can look towards the low ground here and to the river in the distance. Towards the south, the hill is not steep, not at all. It's gently sloping downwards, making it very nice country for tanks. This could be difficult. This could actually be difficult. But we'll see what we can do. So, The tactical battle that we are fighting now, there are three phases to it, I should say. First, the deployment phase. This is where I set up my units. I put the units where I want to have them, basically. I can take a unit and plonk it down somewhere else. That's what I'm doing right now. Then comes the order phase. In that phase I can give orders to the units that they will execute as soon as the battle starts or at the time that I defined. And then we go into the battle itself. But I will spare you all of that stuff. Setting up units will take a long time, usually for me. So let me do that off screen and we will resume the video once I have given the orders and everything and we are ready to start a battle. Alright, I've given the initial orders and set up my units, and now let's just start a battle. And I'll talk you through my setup here and through the potential issues that we are facing. There are quite a lot of them. Well, this is how our battlefield looks, and oh my god, okay. We know that there are enemies here. They are shooting up signal flares, indicating that they will advance. That really didn't leave much time. So, the front. The battlefield divides itself into three parts, I would say. We have the left flank here, which is in the low ground, opposite the villages of Tubchin and Mishurin, or the farmsteads. It goes up to the hill here. The hill really is an issue, because as you can see, the flank of the hill here is completely barren. There really isn't any cover available to be used apart from a few ditches here and there. And so I didn't station any units on the flank of the hill. They would just be shot to pieces by anyone down there. However, what I do have are my 5 cm anti-tank guns. I've positioned them up here on the crest of the hill. If the enemy should push down there with light tanks down that road, even the low caliber 5 cm guns might be enough to cause some serious damage. We'll see about that. And if it comes, if there are problems with enemies advancing, then I can also just drag the guns back into cover, break line of sight. The next part of the battlefield is the hill itself. As you can see, the hill is very barren. That, by the way, is a general feature of this battlefield. There really isn't any cover available. Oh, look at that, another signal flare. There really isn't any cover available. It's very barren, and it will be very hard to defend here. Enemy units sighted. We have the first enemies inside. Looks like a recon patrol. I ordered all my units to hold fire, because ideally I want to catch at least one enemy unit out in the open before they can really do anything. Okay, they have spotted us. Who did they spot? They spotted this machine gun unit. That's a bad position. Right, okay, you're free to open up. Defend yourself. This is not looking good. I might have to... Oh my god. Okay, we have more movement down here. I did debate about stationing units inside the house, but I thought it would be kind of a death trap. And look, I was right. A whole company of enemy units marched up to it. Well, I have units stationed in trenches over here. So if these units start advancing, I will give them a nice surprise. That's a lot of enemies along the whole front. And so soon after the battle started. This is not good. But okay, they are getting the machine gun in position now. They turned it around. Maybe the machine gun can suppress that unit and force it down the hill. We'll see. I'll leave them to it for now. Or maybe I'll... No, nobody else's line of sight. This position is more exposed than I thought it would be. And now I have 2 machine gun teams that are suppressed. Can you do something? Or do I have to pull you back? I don't know. This gun started to shoot at somebody without receiving authorization to do so, which is always nice. The AI in this game definitely has a mind of its own. My trucks at least are relocating to the rear of the battlefield just as I wanted. That's good. This truck can go as well. I forgot to give him an order to do so. So you will move here and then you will join the other trucks over here. Ah, damn it. There you go. Get out of there. So yeah, holding the hill will be very difficult because there's no cover. I can only try to mount rear slope defense basically. Oh my god, that's a lot of enemies. I need to open fire here now. Go guys. Open up on these guys in the open. Good. This unit's free to open up as well. I see enemy guns in the rear. Let's see if I can get some mortars into those guys. I do have... Where's this spotter? This spotter is on the flank of the hill where he's in a good position. Yeah, I will use him. He currently has a fire mission that is being prepared, but I'll use him to target the guns. So, you will... damn it, the direction isn't quite good, so I'll just target one of the guns for now. 3 rounds per gun, high explosive, let's go. That will take some time to arrive, but when it does, I hope it will cause quite a lot of damage. Okay, I have units here. They might be able to be engaged by these units, so I will allow this battalion here to open fire. Give them hell. Yep, and the machine guns are ripping. They have a good flanking shot on those units on top of the hill. That's the problem with the hill, really. When you are up there, you are very exposed to both flanks. We have an artillery strike finally incoming. I called an artillery strike on the village here in Mishudin. Maybe that will disrupt the enemy a bit. But we are starting to see a lot of enemy pressure, but at the moment we are holding. What the hell was that? That was a strange sound. But okay, at the moment we are holding. So yeah, the hill, bad terrain. Right flank. We have a little swampy area that I used to conceal my units, to catch the enemy in the open, and that seems to work out so far. Over here, I didn't see this on the map, but there is actually a fortified trench here, as you can see. A pre-dug trench network, a strong point, even with a bunker that is advanced. Very nice. I ordered some units into it, but I had the units dig trenches behind this line. Maybe I can use this strongpoint trench here as a tank trap if enemy tanks should advance across the plain. Okay, we have artillery landing over there. I didn't order everyone into the strongpoint because I feared that the enemy will hit it with artillery. So there's really just a skeleton force. The rest is behind, inside their trenches. One of my units is retreating. Ooh. Okay, looks like a unit was hit by enemy artillery. And because of that they are retreating? No, I'm wrong. It's actually the unit up here. They are being pressured a lot by the enemy and they are starting to retreat back towards this position where currently enemy artillery is landing. So, what else is going on here? So far, no enemy tanks. Just infantry. Just, he said. Okay, looks like my 5cm gun here is engaging. Who are you targeting? That's a good question. Maybe you're targeting the enemy gun over there, which would be ideal. No, you're targeting the infantry. I could have you target the gun though, so let's do that. You might be able to fight the gun. Yeah, they switch targets. Can you see the gun as well? You can. Open up on them. Some artillery impacts are making a strange sound over here in the village. Not quite sure why. But my artillery is starting to land. Well, that's loud. Okay, another unit retreating. It looks like my left flank, possibly due to the enemy guns, is receiving too much pressure. I have to think about reinforcing it, or calling in a crap ton of artillery on the enemy heads. This spotter is over here, he will not participate in that. I could use his mortar to call a strike onto the hill. He should have line of sight to the Ulrichs. Let's see. If I do this, how is it looking? Yeah, not too bad actually. So yeah, I can have him target the hill. Can I have him target this here? No. Way too inaccurate. Same here, okay. So yeah, side of the hill it is. Oh, I can target back here, that's good. That's actually really good. Call this in. I will have high explosive with... Oh, give me 10 per gun. That should cause quite some damage over there. Maybe I'll pull it back a little bit. Like so. That could hit an enemy unit. Call them in. Now for my artillery that was hitting the village, they are done. So let's redirect that artillery to hit the enemy units out here in the field. Get some of that pressure off of us. Give me 3 per gun. Let's go. We have taken captives. Some enemies have actually surrendered. Yeah, they were caught in the open. I mean, yes, my unit here in the tree line is under a lot of pressure, but so is the enemy that's trying to advance across the open ground. And this gun is done for. Mortars. That's no longer required for you to hit this. I don't think this gun is going to be put into service. It looks damaged, although some of the crew is still alive. So let's keep hitting it. But I'll see if I can get my anti-tank guns onto the other gun. Let's have a look. Can you see the other gun? You might just be able to do that. If I look like this... Yeah, that's possible, I think. Maybe just about. Same for you. You can definitely see it. You can tell that they can see it by the gun being outlined in white. Let's actually enjoy some scenes here. Oh, why did it not turn off everything? This should be... okay, never mind. The compass. Let's turn off the compass as well. There we go. They're hitting the enemy. Putting the enemy guns out of commission is important. If you deprive the enemy infantry of their support weapons, and they are forced to advance across the open ground without them, that's a death sentence. Especially since I have so many machine guns. Okay, looks like maybe we... No, just as I turned. Then you start to fire. Now I think their vision at the moment is obscured by smoke. We can see in the background over there where the guns are, the mortar barrage is landing. So that's great. Yeah, looks like maybe the enemy gun is defeated. No! They fired at us and we are firing back now. That gun actually fired back at us. But with our position up here, we have a far superior position. Far, far superior. Now, is the enemy pressure getting too high somewhere? To be honest, I don't think so. So far we are holding up relatively well. I will have my mortar retarget the other gun. Here it is. Let's see if that thing is even still in commission. No, that thing's done. No need. There's no need for me to target that with the mortar strike. It's done. Instead, I could direct the mortar to hit something else. Sadly, these guys are in defilade from the spotter. And from anyone really, and the enemy has 2 more guns that are being rolled up the path here. And these guns are in an excellent position, I have to say. They will be able to fire down at my units. This is not good, but not terrible either. Let's see, where is this artillery spotter? He is over here. He also won't be able to see them, right? Because the artillery spotter, he needs to have line of sight to call in artillery. If I move him up to the flank of the hill, he will be terribly exposed. Nah, it's too risky. It's too risky to expose him to this at this point in the battle. The machine gun that I feared for initially is actually doing an awesome job keeping the enemy down on top of the hill. Parts of the crew have died. But we are holding for now. This is a little bit concerning. We have a lot of enemies advancing. Well, I do have this artillery spotter here. It would be a shame not to use him. Maybe let's call in some more mortars on Tubchin back here. Put more pressure on the enemies that have retreated back to these trees. That's a good idea. Let's do it like this. It's not an accurate salvo. Yeah, this is better. Let's pressure them a bit. Okay. So far so good. I gotta say, so far so good. Right flank is completely calm at the moment. I might be able to redirect some of the units as a reserve over to the left flank. But so far I don't think there's a need for that. We are holding. At the moment we are holding. I can tell you now a bit more about my setup here, now that the initial confusion has calmed down. Well, here we have a secondary line of anti-tank guns. This company of anti-tank guns here, they have dug in, but I was not able to reposition them at the start of the battle because they were in the arrived state, so I had to leave them here. I did order the trucks, the transport trucks of the infantry, to drive back here, and if there is a need for me to reposition these guns, I can use the trucks to do so. The swamp seems to be a hot area. Oh. My artillery strike is arriving, that I called in with this spotter, but it's arriving in very much the wrong place. We lost one AT gun up here on the hill to something. What killed you? The gun is destroyed. Maybe artillery? Mortars? Something like that? But I don't see too many impacts. It is only a 3.7 centimeter gun, so I'm not too sad about this. The 3.7 centimeter guns I've set up on the right side of the hill, they really are only good against enemy infantry and maybe armored cars and such, so I can use them here to target enemy infantry advances in the open, which is precisely what they're doing. So all is good there. The enemies are sending up a whole bunch of red flares, which means they would be in retreat, I think. Which is just great. Let's have a look at you guys. Looks like this infantry unit has seen some action, but they are still holding on. And my machine guns, MG34, they are just ripping. They are really great assets. They really are. Now, there is another thing that I have here. Where are they? I have 2 assault guns. I stationed them all the way back here, dug in, so that they are safe for now. They are really my only mobile reserve that I have here. If pressure gets too high at some point, I can move them over and provide some supportive fire. But these things, well, in many strategy games, in many arcade strategy games, assault guns are portrayed as tank killers with good armor. This version of the Sturmgeschütz really isn't either of that. The armor is acceptable, I would say, but the gun is a low velocity gun. You're not killing tanks with this thing. They should have heat rounds though. Let me see. They do not. Okay. If they had heat rounds, they would have a limited capability against tanks. Without heat rounds, they are hopeless. So good to know that they don't have any heat rounds. Crap. This is not good. But yeah, so far the enemy attack is concentrating on my left flank, which is exactly where I expected it to be. Because if I was the enemy, I wouldn't push across this big open field towards a well-dug trench line. So they're trying to come over the hill, where they are running into my rear slope defense. And they are trying to advance across the low ground. And so far, I only see enemy infantry. Wait, what was that? Was that a muzzle flash or an impact? I think I'm seeing impacts from my own guns. However, something did kill this 3.7 centimeter gun that I had here, so not sure what that was. So far though, we are holding. We are suppressing the enemy advance, not letting them advance towards our lines. My machine guns are doing an amazing job. Do I move more units up to somewhere? Not sure at the moment. What are you doing all the way up there? You got scattered, I believe, so let's see if we can get you back into a cohesive position here. I think that was one of the units that was forced to retreat momentarily. Yeah, they were put under a lot of pressure. Their numbers are down. Five men down, killed and heavily wounded, just in this squad. I'm taking losses. I am. But the enemy is taking higher losses. My interlocking fields of fire here are ripping them to shreds. These enemy guns can still become a problem. Yeah, they are setting them up right now. They are trying to set up the gun. It's not easy on this uneven ground. But once this gun is set up, it could be an issue. Wait, they are turning it. Are they trying to get out of here? Is their morale low? It's possible, or they're trying to roll it downhill here. Not quite sure what they are trying to achieve. But they are hard at work. Very hard at work. This gun here, well, so far this thing is not doing anything. They really chose some difficult terrain to push the guns across, and that's hurting them at the moment. Which is good for me, excellent in fact. Okay, the enemy is offering a ceasefire. They had enough. They had enough for now. Do I take it? Do I take the ceasefire, or do I try to do something here? I could send out a recon patrol, but the open ground is no place to advance across, and I would just risk losing them to an enemy machine gun, so I'm not doing that. I could try to advance up to the... I could try to advance up to the house. However, I feel that that would definitely expose me to those guns up there. Let's have a look. Yeah, I would be in full view of the guns. So I'm not doing that either. But apparently the enemy has given up hope that he's going to achieve anything in this attack. So they are offering a ceasefire. Still, let's continue for a few more minutes. See what happens. The units inside the trenches, they are well protected. It won't be easy for the enemy to dislodge them. Definitely not. Yeah, short bursts. That's how you do it. Man, I love machine guns. They are awesome at this. Let's have a look at some enemies that are wishing they were somewhere else. Can I see some? I think we delivered quite a lot of losses to them down here. My guess is that these guys are in retreat right now. Yeah, a lot of dead guys. What else is happening? Some units are under fire, but the situation seems to be quieting down. Maybe I should order my machine guns to conserve ammunition. Because we are expending a lot here. I could get another artillery strike on the village here. Seems like some enemies are trying to probe forward. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Let's call in more artillery to hit them. Hit the village. Give me... let's see. Just give me 3 per gun for now. 6.5 minutes, that's a long time. Okay, maybe let's use the mortar instead. Mortar could arrive faster and covers a larger area. Yeah, let's use the mortar. 4 minutes until the first rounds start to hit. 5 per gun, let's go. Scatter the enemies. Oh, quite a lot of enemies over there. Do I risk my assault guns at this point? Do I maybe roll the assault guns up here and hammer into the enemy formation over there? Or maybe to the edge of the hill here? There are possibilities. there are certain possibilities. But yeah, let's actually not risk them at this point. We are very, very early in our battle here for this hill. This is just the first engagement. Nothing has been decided yet. You will note, by the way, if you're unfamiliar to Graviteam tactics, I'm fairly hands-off with my approach here. This is because, well, my units are basically in defensive positions, in positions from where they are defending. So far there has not been a need for me to maneuver units around. So far so good, I would say. Do I counterattack? That's on my mind right now. Do I dare to counterattack? But I think there's still a lot of enemies that I just can't see at the moment. Let's see, like this mortar didn't do too much. Can I target him on something else? Out of line of sight. This line of sight is... Yeah, could you look this way for a moment? Really doesn't have too much line of sight to anything. It's because he's in a little trench here and behind the rise of the hill, so we'll need to move him up a bit. Which, yeah, let's do that. You will simply walk up here. Get up there. Get line of sight so that I can do something with you. I think we'll wait for the mortar strike to hit Tube Chin, and then I'll accept the ceasefire. There's not much to be gained here, for me, as of right now. The enemy pushed across the open ground into my guns. If I counterattack, I will be pushing across open ground into their guns. It doesn't make sense for me to attack. The only question, or the only possible thing that I could do is try to advance to this house. Try to secure it, establish a firing position to engage the gun. However, infantry guns, rifles and such, against an anti-tank guns, well, I know how that's going to end. The gun is going to rip us to shreds with its high explosive rounds. So, let's stay in our trenches. Yeah, that's the situation. There's no benefit for me to advance. I will just take losses without really capturing anything significant. So let's continue to rip apart enemies with our machine guns. Put pressure on them. Hopefully kill as many of them as possible. This little battery of 3.7 centimeter guns is actually useful. They're engaging the enemy in the open and they are delivering heavy hits. Well, this gun has been taken out, but the others are fine. Still don't know what hit this thing. I will have to take a look at that in the after battle statistics. Must be a stray artillery round or something like that. Because I really don't see any enemy guns anywhere on this flank. They're still trying to advance. I'm amazed, by the way, that this machine gun is still operational. I left it in a position that is far more exposed than I thought it would be. But still, not only are they holding, they are killing the enemies one by one. Aim a little bit higher. Yeah, that's better. The enemies, they are not happy. Where did I see that guy? I think he's in the low ground here somewhere. Oh, there's one. Look at this poor soul. He's having such a bad day. Trying to run from cover to cover. Trying to get something done, but ultimately just in a terrible position and dead. No, not dead, but heavily wounded. He's not doing anything for a while. Maybe never again. The tracers have started a brush fire. Nice. What else is going on? Yeah, the enemy attack has failed. My mortars are arriving. That's what we were waiting for, the mortar barrage on Tubchin. The rounds are in the air. You can see here the number decreasing, that's the mortars firing off the rounds. The first rounds should start to hit very soon. There we go. Yeah, that's hitting directly into the village, which is precisely what I wanted. Excellent. They are only 8 cm mortars, so not the super heavy stuff. But still, if they land near an enemy soldier, that guy is having a seriously bad day. More red flares, more retreats. Excellent. I think that was the barrage. Yeah, I think that was it. Okay. With that, let's take a final look at the battlefield. The tracers crisscrossing back and forth. I think I've expended a lot of machine gun ammunition, but I have also cut down a good number of enemies. So at this point in time, we are taking the ceasefire. Suggest a ceasefire, yes, let's go. The enemies are milling about back here. But I already called a ceasefire. I was thinking about maybe putting another artillery strike down on them, but no, not right now. Ceasefire in effect now. There we go, battle completed. Let's see what happens. So, a lot of numbers, but I am interested in the casualties. I had 28 casualties, the enemy had 86. So that's good. That's really good. Good ratio. Vehicles lost, none. I have 2 damaged ones. Maybe one of the guns, or the gun that was... Yeah, I lost the gun, okay. I was thinking maybe one can be repaired, but no, we have one that's definitely destroyed. Okay, well, let's look at these achievements. Some riflemen eliminated 10 enemy soldier, or a squad. Well, that's easy in this battle. War Merit Cross, did something amazing. We killed a lot of enemy soldiers, artillery strikes, etc. Okay. 5-to-1 kill ratio, yes, please. Let's go to the after battle statistics. I want to see what we were actually facing. I want to know what happened to the enemy guns that were back here. Are these things destroyed or not? Where were they? Oh, back there. There, these things are done. You can see this gun was actually hit by a 5 cm high explosive shell fired from one of my anti-tank guns on the hill. Great job. That unit is... that gun is destroyed. This one is decrewed. not destroyed. I think this one could be put back into service, but you see here, this one too was hit by multiple high explosive shells. Positioning those 5cm guns on the hill turned out to be a good thing. We have an enemy gun here. That is the one that they were desperately trying to get into some useful position. They were hit with machine gun fire, obviously, which did wound some of the men, or maybe incapacitated some of them. I don't see the other gun right now that they had. Doesn't matter. What I wanted to look at is my own gun. What happened? What hit you? Not you. Where's the destroyed one? This one. And it's actually not destroyed, it can be repaired. It was hit, yeah, by an enemy shell. 76.2mm. High explosive, most likely. Yeah. Where did that come from? Oh, back there! You see that? All the way back there in Partition. The enemy had two guns back here that were shooting at us. Man, these things were far away. Not much chance for my 3.7cm guns. Really far away. Wow. That they even managed to spot my guns. And then hit one of them. That's amazing. Yeah, the shot was delivered at 2 kilometers. 2,100 meters. Wow. That's impressive. Okay, so I know the enemy has more guns in Partition. We have guns here advancing up towards the top of the hill. And we have a lot of enemy infantry that is wishing they were somewhere else. What were we facing? 9th Cavalry Division. A cavalry regiment. Yeah, cavalry regiment. Is it all from the 108th? Yeah. So we engaged the cavalry regiment and we gave them a good effort from our side. We caused quite significant casualties, I would say. Losing almost 100 men is nothing to sneeze at in one attack. Okay, that was our first engagement in this operation. So far, no tanks. So far, this really was just a warm-up. Basically, almost exclusively static positions. No real movement of units here. But regardless of that, things are going to escalate from here. And they are going to escalate a lot. I can't wait to see enemy tanks. For now, let's end this battle and go back to the operational map, see what happens because of this. And here we have it. So, we held our ground. We now know some of the units that are opposing us here. We have held our ground. And that was actually the only battle for this turn. Didn't they attack also in the south? They must have aborted that attack when this one failed. Okay, that's okay. That's alright. That's good. I can live with that. Right. With that said, this shall be it for today's episode. This was a long one. But it is the first episode of the campaign, there's a lot of things to explain and to talk through, and now that we have done all this, we can focus on battles in the future. So, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and do me a favor, do like the video and maybe leave a comment or such. You know, it's just for the YouTube algorithm, so that more people get to see this basically. With that all said, I want to thank you very much for your time and for watching this. I hope you have enjoyed it. And I hope to see you again next time when we continue this campaign that is shaping up to be a brutal grindfest. Until then, have some great days and goodbye.